Greetings, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Q-Tech Connection, episode 9. I'm your host, Andres, and with me is my co-host and guest today, Mallory. As you guys are aware from last week's episode, Mallory interviewed me, and we share some of my early beginnings and kind of life's story with all of you. So this week's episode is about her. So Mallory, welcome. How are you? Welcome to your podcast.
Hello. It feels really weird. Honestly, it feels really, really weird, but I'm super excited. And thank you so much for the introduction.
My pleasure. So let's jump in. Let's get the show on the road. Let's start with your early life and education. We want to kind of learn about where you came from, where you learned. So can you tell us a bit about your early life and where you grew up?
Well, I am Colombian. I was born in Bucaramanga, Santander. I come from a single father. I am the daughter of a single father. I was a preemie as well, 1 week before 7 months. So pretty much all odds were against me surviving, but I made it.
Thank you. Two preemies made it through.
Yeah, I know. We have a purpose. Most of the cases you hear about, the single mothers. In my case, is the complete opposite. My dad took 100% responsibility of me and took me to Bogota, to the capital, where I grew up the first 4 or 5 years of my life with my grandma, because my dad at that time needed some help, and I was a very, very sick child. So I needed a lot of assistance with medications and stuff like that. So I grew up with my uncle, my aunt, and then my grandma.
What can you tell me? Because I'm sure a lot of our listeners come from a single parent home, but usually it's the mom who takes care of the child. What can you share with us about your experience about having a father as your parent? Because I can't relate to that, as the listeners know. So I would love to kind of hear your input in reference to how is that chemistry? How is that process?
Yeah, it's really weird. Number one, because it's not common. It's really not common to see a single dad. There's, it's a little bit more common seeing single dads that have shared custody,
Correct.
But I was completely 1,000% with my father. So pretty much grew up with not having the sense of a mother figure. And my mother figure was, at that time when I was really little, my grandma. She was my mommy. And if I would ever call her grandma, she would kill me. So she's my mom. And my dad is my mom. Every single Mother's Day, I say Happy Mother's Day to my dad. It was really weird at school, I remember, when I was little, because I do have friends that they also had split parents, and they were also with the dads too. But the moms were always there somehow. Like in Mother's Day, I was the only one with a dad. Or in sports day or for church and things like that, I would go with my grandma, but no one else. So it was kind of like, it felt a little, that stuff wouldn't fit in. But at the same time, I connect with my dad and he's my hero. So, he became like my everything. It's something that maybe you can relate by having a single mom. People can too. I was a very tall, I'm wearing all pink right now, like a princess, but I was a tomboy. That feminine, that feminine side was never really truly developed after my dad married later on.
It's funny because through my life, I've heard the same thing, like, oh, lucky that you have your mom and you're a boy because the relationship between mom and son is stronger. So it's interesting because here we have a father and a daughter, and again, fathers raising daughters. There's a couple of things that we can't relate to. There's evolutionary steps that happen that we don't go through. So it makes perfect. Not surprising at all that you kind of grew up as a tomboy. What were some of your interests and hobbies during your childhood and teenage years? So walk us through the process of, You said sports, church, but what kind of became, or what early childhood experiences or activities kind of started clicking with you?
Well, I went to a private school. That's where I went my whole life. It's a very known private school in Colombia, Santa Francisca Romana. Trilingual private school, very, very tough academically speaking. It's top in the country, but it's not for everyone. And it was also a very artistic school at the same time, very into the academics, but very into the artistic side too. You know, every child is different, and I would say that I am the different child of my family, and I'm kind of proud of saying that. I always struggled a lot in school, always. I had a lot of issues in school focusing. I had a lot of issues focusing. I had a lot of issues with math. I do not have a good relationship with numbers. I was traumatized by a very early age with numbers. So my father is a college professor in finance, and he was a big finance guy in Colombia. So I had that pressure of you need to be a straight A student. And I did not go that route, but I was very artistic. So I actually started taking really early on art classes. I actually had 3 paintings go to a museum in Europe when I was in first grade. So that was really cool. Then I was really into music. I played the flute. I played the violin. I was part of an orchestra. I went to orchestra competitions as well. And I played the cello. So love music. Tried the guitar, tried piano. They're not my thing, but know how to play them as well. And, that's kind of like my early childhood. My father just poured me into all of these activities constantly. And then I was just a sports girl, I did all the way from golf. I did swimming for 5 years. I did soccer for 8 years. I tried flag football as well when I was in high school. I did track also competitively. So I tried about 7 different sports growing up because I do come from a household where there was a really big discipline with sports. And it stems, and I'm going to mention a lot my dad because that's like what I look up to. That's like
that's your rock.
That's my, yeah, he's a very disciplined guy. And that's what I learned from watching him. And all I can remember my whole life, and for my siblings as well, because I have siblings, he would wake up 5 a.m. in the morning. You would hear the gym with the music going. He would be working out 4:30 a.m. in the morning, 5 a.m., 6 a.m. He's out to the office. Same thing would happen to us on the weekends. 7 a.m. on the dot. Hey, get up. You have sports all day, all the way to the afternoon. You would be busy on sports from one to the other, to the other. So then I developed a passion for animals as well, growing up in the, early elementary school, middle school. This is all before I was 12 years old. Pretty much, I love horses. I have a passion for horses. It's an absolute passion of mine. And I started doing bolting. And it's not a very known sport out there, but it's pretty much dancing and gymnastics on top of a horse while the horse is running. It's a little dangerous, but it's an amazing sport. It works out all of your core, works out all of your body, and you get to connect with an animal in a whole different level. And it's very, very elegant and artistic. So I focused on that sport for many years as well.
Oh, the trust that you have to have, and the horse, the trust that is to have.
They actually introduce you into getting to know the horse before you start jumping from his neck to his back and swirling around. And it's a whole process. Yeah.
You gotta make sure that both of you guys are matched, because again, that's for connecting with animals is such a great thing when you make that bond, that connection.
Yeah,
just like have a dog and such. It's such a great connection.
Well,
they give you unconditional.
I had more than one dog, so that's where the passion of animals showed up in my life. My grandma rescues animals, and growing up, we had 5, we had 10, we had 15,
Yeah,
we had 20. And we went all the way to 52 dogs, all rescued and all saved by my grandma. And they were all in my house. And I grew up in a house full of, it was like a hotel of dogs in my house.
So you ended up
All the way until like 8 years old. 7
really
years
ended
old.
up hotel for dogs. I think that's like the movie's called.
Well, yeah, because they start rescuing dogs. Well,
Exactly.
that's, I mean, if I
You
could,
just reminded me of that
it's a
movie.
hotel for my grandma.
Exactly.
That's what I would
You
love to
guys
do
have
for her.
to share the space with the dogs. The dogs live there. You guys.
Exactly. We're just like in the little corners and the edges of the house. That's us. That was us.
So
But
it makes a great segue to my next question because I would have assumed that with your love for animals and growing up in a house with animals and horses and things like that, you will pursue a career with something with animals. You know, hearing a little earlier, you're saying you like art, music, and those elements and creativity correlate with your current job and digital marketing.
Yeah.
But how did your educational journey shape your career path? You know, any particular subjects, like you're gonna share a little art or experiences that influence your decision? Because like I said, you went into digital marketing, you've always liked social media, but learning about your love for animals and such, I would have assumed, you know, following a path of animal vet or things like that.
Yeah, makes sense. I really don't know why I didn't go an animal route. If I was surrounded by animals my whole life. But so around 8 years old, 8 years old, I would say, 8, 9, yeah. We were living in this more like campestre, like outdoorsy house, like a farm style house on the outside of the city. And that's when I kind of separated from animals that intensively. Like I wasn't living with my grandma anymore and stuff like that. So, and then we would just visit the horses like here and there. So then, I have always had a passion for speaking, talking.
Okay.
I've always had kind of like that. In all the family reunions, every time I would go in the room, I would be like, "Oh, she's here. We're all gonna be here for like 4 hours."
Get ready for the speech.
Oh, heck yes. And everyone loved it. And it's just been something that I always like to say that is a gift from God, because I know I can talk and I can make people just get so into conversations.
What is that saying in Colombia they have? You can speak through your elbows or something like that?
O si habla hasta por los codos.
Yes.
O se traga una lora mojada.
Yes. Or you swallow a wet carrot.
Yeah. That's what they would tell me all the time. Like, oh, lleva la lora mojada. All the time. Like, I would just be all the time, like insane. Yes.
Okay. So now we're seeing the beginnings.
That's where my passion for, I would like to call it passion. It's just a natural thing that has always been part of it, a part of me. And I was a very social kid in school. I was very of a leader. So I would always coordinate all the school plays. I was always best. And this is non-traditional, and I'm so grateful that all of my schools have actually allowed me to do this. But I would always showcase my knowledge in different ways, because I knew that regular test taking was just not for me. But I knew the knowledge, like I had the information in my head. And that's why nowadays you have magnet schools and, different style of educations, because not every brain is the same. And I did have a hard time back then, because I would fail my tests, but then I would tell my professor, my teacher, just put me in front of people. Put me in front of people, ask me questions, and I'll give you a full presentation. And that's how they would test me. And that's how I started learning that public speaking is my thing. I do better at presenting my knowledge than writing it down. So that's how I started noticing that. Also at that time, I used to play a lot by myself. Again, I used to talk to myself a lot when I was little. And I used to be a salesperson all the time. I wanted to be an interior designer. I wanted to sell like muebles and houses and stuff. And then my father gifted me his old Mac when I was 10 and had an external camera. And I figured out that I could record with that camera. So one day, out of nowhere, I just turned it on. My whole room was pink with, well, at that time I was not a tomboyish anymore. I was transitioning to princess mode. But yeah, I had a mom. I had my stepmom back then, so it was a change. And my whole room was full of flowers and pink. So I came up with the idea, just recording on my dad's Mac. I'm gonna make a show. I want to start my own talk show, like the news, the ones that my grandma watches on TV. So I literally started recording out of the nowhere. And I was like, hey guys, welcome to littleflowers.com. And that was my first show.
And you
And
call it littleflowers.com?
littleflowers.com, because my whole room was pink with flowers. I had a beautiful mural behind my bed that was all pink with flowers. And I was like, well, littleflowers.com it is. And I started ringing all my neighbors. And I started interviewing my neighbors and asking them questions and about their life and I'll be like, look at the camera, like smile, like, okay, and I didn't know what I was talking about, but I loved it. And then at that time, YouTube was not a thing. It was Messenger and MySpace. Facebook was just getting started. It wasn't even out there yet. And I would send through Messenger my videos to my family of littleflowers.com, my show. And then I saw the first editing tool, that iMovie, that was by Apple from iMovie. Very basic. You could only cut, clip, and shorten it down. That's it. You only had like 3 commands. And I learned them to the T. And I was cutting that video. And I was just making videos every single day. And I was just the happiest person on earth. Then YouTube came along. And it was still it was not the YouTube that we know nowadays. I was 10 back then. So from 9 to 10. And I was like, I'm going to do an account. I'm going to create an account. I created the account and I taught myself how to do the design of the banner with paint, with the paint tool.
Yeah.
So I would measure it out and I started drawing with the mouse and I did my own banner like that. And then I would export it, crop it, and then add it into the channel. And I just started like that. And then once more people started doing videos, I started getting the hang of it. And I was like, you know what? Let's just talk about makeup. Let's just talk about, I don't know, whatever. So I was really into makeup, so I just started making videos about that. And that's how kind of like my passion for digital started. But it was all from that Mac little camera.
It also started with little iMac. That was your father's, and they had the camera. So this is a great segue into our next section of the podcast, which is career beginnings.
Ooh.
What inspired you to pursue a career in digital marketing? And you kind of really shared how you kind of fell into it because of this iMac and this little hole in that iMac that had a little video camera. And you started just recording yourself, then you started just playing around with technology. And it slowly became a passion. So can you continue to elaborate on what continued to inspire you to then say, you know what, I do want to pursue this path?
Well, I actually didn't want to pursue digital marketing because that was not an existing career. Right. There was traditional marketing, but digital marketing did not exist. Digital marketing has been around for the past 8 years. It's relatively very new, and there's still not a single full 100% degree that can certify on a master's for digital marketing. There is none. So it is a evolving thing that has happened. And actually, I did not want to be anything in digital marketing at first. My passion for talking to the camera it kind of led me to think that I would be a great fit for journalism. That's what I wanted to do.
Oh, that makes sense.
I wanted to be a broadcast journalist. So that's kind of like where my idea, my career path was going. Later, after some years, I did start a second YouTube channel, which it blew up. It grew pretty big. But at that time, that was a taboo. So my family has a lot of doctors and a lot of mathematicians. Actually, I suck at math, but everyone in my family is good with numbers and finances. And I was expected to follow
On that path.
that path, you know. I was expected to go to college because my father was a college professor and my father has several degrees. And, that's kind of like what my vision or what I was meant to be is, oh, I'm the first daughter. I should take on the company to make it a company of the family and grow and like that. I
So
was always afraid of that.
family expectations kind of put a little weight on your dreams per se.
Oh yes,
You were falling in
100%.
love. You were falling in love with this digital thing that you're discovering. You
Yeah.
became good that your channel grew up, and again, blew up. And back then, the money wasn't what it is nowadays. I'm sure.
Oh
You know,
no. No
so
one would get paid. It was not what YouTube is right now. That is monetizing,
monetize.
and
Yeah.
that did not exist at all. But
So how
um,
did you balance that contradiction per se? You wanted to pursue this journalistic digital career versus your father saying, you're my first daughter, you're the firstborn, and you're to inherit and run my businesses.
well, and I think this is where a little bit of a difference with people. How it depends on how you grow up and what you grow up seeing. And in my case, I saw a business owner and an entrepreneur, and that was always planted in my head. So I knew that somehow I was gonna follow my father's steps in that route because that's how my brain was shaped. Since very early, my father would always tell me, you take one napkin, you sit down in a restaurant, and you look at and you observe the staff, the manager, the place, the food, you taste it, and then just by all of these senses in one restaurant, you are able to come up with an entire business plan. And my siblings and I were always like, what is this guy talking about? Like, he's nuts. I remember perfectly. He did that business plan, showed us how he did it, did some number projections right there on the table because he's good at that. And he was like, this is going to become a company in a couple of years, and then I'm going to show you. Then any idea that you put in your head, you can make it happen, no matter how hard it is. And that always stuck with me. And it really hit me to my core because even though that I didn't want to do anything in finance, like my whole family, um, I did wanted to do something that was from scratch. I wanted to feel what it's like, the ups and the downs and the here's and there's and cries and happiness. I wanted that challenge. But I think it's because I saw it so much in my father. And I found it so beautiful that he was so amazed by it. I saw him cry and I saw him excited. We had trips and then we had a downfall, and that's life. But um, it just shows you that any idea that you come up with, no matter what industry, you just need to be persistent. So he built that really into my brain. Like I never had an idea of, I want to work for a company and I want to get retirement.
You want to create a company and grow that.
I want to create something. I want to sweat tears of blood, but I want to provide work for other people because that's how I was raised. And that's what my mindset has always been shaped as. So then I found out a new platform. When I was 12, we were already in the US. We moved in randomly. We had a very drastic change literally on a weekend. Friday, I was in school in Bogota. Monday, I was starting school in Miami. There was
No
no
transitional period.
transition whatsoever. It was insane. And we already had our house in Miami. Everything was planned. My dad had been planning that who knows how long. So everything, we just had that transition. I did go from a private school to a public school, so that was a little bit of a shock for us.
I can relate with that as well.
Yeah, it is a bit of a shock, and also a cultural shock, you know. It just everything is completely different.
100%.
The classes are completely different too. Like, I was not too great in school, but man, whatever I was being taught here, I saw like 3 years before in Colombia. So I was like, well, here
That's
I'm
why I got a
super tough,
scholarship.
man.
That's why I got a scholarship when I started. They're like, "Oh, you're way too advanced."
Here, my dad was like, "Oh my God, you're doing amazing." I'm like, "I know, I got this," you
That's a
know.
beautiful
So
thing. Oh,
it's that transition was really easy, academically speaking, was really easy for us because, you know,
because
over there schooling is more advanced. So we did that. When I got here around 13 years old, I discovered a new platform that was just coming out. It's called You Now. That platform, I don't even know if it exists anymore. I think they made Twitch and they made other ones, but it was one of the first streaming platforms.
okay.
So I was still doing YouTube on the side, and I was doing really, really great for that. Instagram was just getting started. Just it was a baby platform, with a really, really old brown logo,
Oh
and
like a TV.
yeah, and then there was this platform. I was 12 years old, turning 13, and I just turned on the camera. I didn't know what I was doing, and it was a streaming platform where you just create a community and you talk, pretty much. I love talking, so that's what I did. So I would do my research about topic the night before, and I would just talk about it and evolve in it. And then I started creating a whole community online, and I would say in the span of 6 months, I already had 20K followers. So I started getting very obsessed with it, severely obsessed with it, to the point that I was exposing myself as a teenager. I was exposing myself to strangers, to people, to opinions. I was not ready for that. So I was exposing my face on this camera, talking for hours, because I would talk for hours, and my family would not understand. Why are they 400 people listening to her talk in that room? I would have 500, 600, 700 people online, constant watchers for 2, 3, 4 hours at a time. My dad was like, what are you doing? Like, are you insane?
Did he understand?
No.
So as we go through this, because we're kind of pivoted to my next question, is can you share your first job experience in digital? And I think from what we're discussing, I think your first job was the iMac and the camera, playing with that because that kind of put the seed in the back of your head saying, you know what,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this. And the fact that you were teaching grown-ups how to smile to the camera, how to present themselves and such, you had that natural instinct of facing the camera. And as you continue developing and growing and eventually moving to the States, you state that you continue the YouTube, it grew, you know, jumping on a new platform as well. And you had this following. So if I was to ask you to share your first job experience in the digital marketing field or in digital in general, what have you learned from it and what was it? Could we?
It was exactly, I would think that, and this is what's funny because I feel like everything that I've learned, I've just been it's been self-taught,
Self-driven.
and it's been since the beginning. Like, that's all I know. And that's my passion, you know, all the way from teaching myself how to turn on a camera and edit with the first softwares, all the way to saving. I would walk dogs in Miami. I would walk dogs. I would I would do little things here and there so I could save money, so I could get cameras. So I started learning about lenses. I started learning about different lighting equipments and different types and styles of microphones. And why do you use a microphone on this and why use a microphone for that? And I started making my own studio in this little room in my house. Everything I bought, my first camera was gifted to me for my birthday, but after that, all of the upgrades and lenses that I got, they were all bought by myself. All my other equipment was bought by myself. I remember my dad gifted me a Mac, but I had to constantly pay to upgrade because I wanted more programs so I could test more editing skills for my YouTube. And I would spend endless hours and hours and hours just editing, cropping, creating different shots. I started doing modeling at 14 as well. So I did some modeling on that. I learned about positioning, about posture, about angles, about how to composition of image. So all of those things that I was applying into my life, it's really how I started my job. Because then, since I'm a very social human being, I would connect one photographer with another girl that I knew was a model, and I would get an earning there. So that's the business side that I learned from my dad.
I was about to ask.
So I would always try to use what my dad was teaching me, but in the field that I was passionate about. Then started creating and giving me funds, actual money. The more that I spent on that platform and the more that constant viewers would watch me every single day, the more people I was bringing in. And then I was getting paid money, digital money that then I would get into a check.
Interesting. And how did your father see this? See it as a business?
No.
See it as work? Your time? How did he handle this?
Oh,
Or
God.
did you even present it? Because being raised and the fact that in a restaurant he sat down a napkin and put a business plan together, did you even think about putting a business plan together to present to him and say, hey, this is what I'm doing and this is the numbers? And how did you and him handle that discussion?
Wow. Well, my family was completely against it. My YouTube channel got deleted. I also misused social media at that time, so I had to learn the tough way to be responsible with it. I got cyberbullied as well, so I had to drop it for a couple of months as well. Severely cyberbullied. Like my phone got hacked and I had thousands and thousands of people just texting horrible things to me. I was without a phone for like 2 years because I was grounded. So through all of that, in my dad's head, I had to apply to college. I had to go to college. He was like, I don't care that you're doing all this filming stuff, craziness, because it was still taboo. It was just getting started. It was just booming in, but there was no careers for micro influencers and mega influencers. There was no business partnerships with brands and personal branding influencing. That did not exist at all. That was not a thing.
It's such a thing, you know.
That was not a thing. So I actually took a trip to New York, and one of my, I had to find a college. So I did my research, and I was actually attempting to go to Stony Brook University Broadcast Journalism School in Long Island, New York. So I took a trip with my father all the way over there for my birthday, so we could see, like the housing and how it worked, because my dad wanted me to get motivated to go to a traditional schooling. Now, at that time as well, I was really dealing with a lot of mental health, and I was going through a lot of self-discovery with mental illness and mental health. With that, I found a passion of the brain. I started reading a lot about the brain. I started reading about psychology, and then I figured out one thing that I loved: the brain, cells, and communications, all under technology. And I was like, how can I combine all of these things? So my dad told me, if you don't want to go to college to pursue finance or to pursue broadcasting or whatever it is, you're going to pitch it to me. You want to be a business owner? Pitch it to me. Give me your business plan. And what do you want to do? Why is your little videos going to create money? How are they going to create money? Give me all the background. Study the market. Do your research. you want to be self-taught, then you need to go from A all the way to Z. If you're going to go into the business that you want to own your own thing, you're going to have to wear a lot of hats. So you have to learn on your own. And I'm going to be the judge. Man.
What did you end up doing?
I was so scared. I took a couple months of preparation. And I actually found a great way of sustaining my idea of why nowadays it's being an influencer, but why having social media as a business was a great idea. And my first thing that I learned from everything I had done before, one, if I can sit there and talk to 600 people for 4 hours a day, they're spending their biggest asset, which is time.
Hi.
They will never recover that, right? So I learned by also reading a lot and also hearing a lot about what my dad does. You know, time is my biggest asset. If I am already gaining that, I'm on a winning point right now, right? So now let's get in the psychological side, which is the brain part that I liked. I started reading a lot about emotional connections and how that can influence the cells. So I was like, okay, if I can get people to just watch me with me influencing them into generating an emotion that will trigger a sell. Now I need to figure out what am I going to sell. But if you get someone's attention and you're pretty much having their emotions connected to whatever you're saying, you can sell anything.
And that ties me into my next question, because you're really connecting. And what was the outcome? Did your father see you through? What were you doing through this process? You know, what kind of other jobs did you seek in the meantime as you were working on putting things together and showcasing this thing to your father? What other things were you trying outside of reading, outside of doing these things? What other elements were kind of grasping to your attention as you were understanding that, you know what, this is really cool. This is something that I'm passionate about. This is something that has my interest and something I can build a business around.
Actually, I was not working at that time. I was still in high school. Then I graduated high school. All of my plans just went out the window. You know, sometimes you go through things that you're perfect one moment and then you're not the next. So, you know, I went from living this amazing lifestyle and just focusing on, you know, we gotta have to graduate, because that was my biggest problem. I didn't know how I was going to graduate. All my grades were not that great, you know, and I was really trying hard. And I was also trying to continue my social stuff going. And I was doing some modeling gigs here and there. I have a lot of photographer friends. They were like, bro, you're registered really amazing in camera. We'll pay you if you come for this clothing store. And I'm like, I'm down, you know? So I was doing that kind of little stuff right there, but I wasn't really focused on the work or on finding a job because I didn't need it at that time. I was financially severely stable, let's just say that. Things happen, and that's why we got to be grateful with the things that we go through. And we lost everything. I would say we lost everything in a matter of hours. I would say like 5 hours. I came back, we had nothing. I came back from school, we had nothing. You know, when you go through a shock like that, you can take it two ways, or you can sit and cry, or you can figure something out, right?
Correct.
Not everyone processes not tragedies, but big monumental changes like that
Life challenge.
the same way, you know?
You could say this is a challenge in your life.
People process it differently. So pretty much I just had to figure it out, you know? We were at a point that we were in negative zero, literally. And I only had $200 in cash. That's all I had left. and my living situation wasn't the best at that moment. So I made the decision that I was going to move to New York after graduating. Why the toughest city? I have no clue. Don't ask me. Maybe because that's the college I wanted to go to. I went to New York. Lots of stuff happened. Lost my phone. I was with no communication with my family for months. I walked that city. I cried and I walked, and I would go, and they wouldn't even hire me to be a waitress. And finally, I went to a Greek restaurant, Ammonia Cafe. The owner was like, okay, you can be our hostess. All you have to do is dress pretty and have give menus and sit down people. Time passed by. I actually met a writer, which I pitched a book to. It was just a whole shenanigans. So it's in the comings one day, hopefully. And then I got the opportunity to be the manager, be trained as the manager of the to-go section of the restaurant. I took it. So after that, they wanted to train me to be the secondary manager of the entire restaurant. After that, I had to leave New York. But that was like my first job. I just went through different positions on that one job.
How did you start transitioning, or how did you get ready? When did you feel that you wanted to continue to pick up again digital anything, whether it's for your YouTube channel, or work in a digital marketing agency? When did that kind of started coming about?
I never dropped it. And I'm super open about this because I know, it can help someone else out there, but I've been homeless 7 times since I was 17. I've moved to different cities. I've been to 5 different cities, moved different countries for health issues as well. So pretty much like a nomad lifestyle. I kept getting more knowledge. I kept studying at night. I kept editing more. I never dropped it.
How had things prepare you for this task, for this wall?
Believing in myself, even though I don't sometimes. I still struggle with that. But I think that sometimes I can look back and I'm like, man, I've done all of these positions. For my age. Girl, I'm still standing. I'm still breathing. You're so good. Like, you can get this. You can do this. It's kind of like a self-boosting confidence. Like, I went through hell and back. I can do this. I cried tears. I had faith. I was in the nowhere. And then something always came up and shaped me to be a better person. So all of that shapes you into, okay, here I have to wear hat 1, wear hat 2, wear hat 3. And if you fall down, then we need to be a team and we need to get back up. But having that constant, if you fall, you get back up, having that energy, it's really hard to have if you haven't struggled and you haven't gone through that. Falling, get up, falling, get up, falling, get up. You need to go through the motion of exercise for you to actually get it.
So as we go through that, let's talk about your professional growth.
Oof.
So
that's a beautiful one.
Our listeners now understand that you had a lifestyle and then you had many hats doing many different things. So with all those things and then your life challenges that developed thereafter, as you decided to, you know what, I want to take my skill set, I want to follow this career, I want to follow the path of creating and digital marketing agents, because that's pretty much what we've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
What has been some of those growing
pains?
What has been those
communication?
God, like, why did I get myself into it?
I have never had that thought.
Good. Okay.
Never. It has never crossed my mind. I think that since I always had the idea I wanted a marketing agency, I know it comes with challenges. Again, it's something I have seen since home. So I wasn't scared by it. I've had some growing pains, which is the main one, communication. Even though I have great public speaking skills, I struggle with internal communication. And that's one challenge that I've had to evolve in and grow in this job. Um, Working through the low peaks of spark of creativity. And what I mean by that is digital marketing, you really have to be into learning constantly, right? You need to learn and have basic knowledge on, if you want a marketing agency, you need to have knowledge on multiple things because you have a team, right? And if I'm going to have a team, I need to know what I'm talking about, right? So it's sitting down and going through those beginning stages of, man, until this date, like 2 years ago, I was teaching myself and learning how to do a full blown business plan. People think business plans are easy. Let me tell you something. They are not.
I
They
can attest
really
to
are
that.
not. They really are not. Okay. And I took on that challenge. So it's really taking yourself into taking those little steps. Okay. We're going to focus right now. We're developing an HR section for the company.
That's right.
No one taught me how to do an HR section. I've had to do my research. I have to read. I have to learn. I have to practice. I have to create, test, run, repeat, observe, practice, learn, test, run, and repeat.
So let's move to our next segment, which is balancing work and family. As you said with us, you're a single mom. How do you balance your professional responsibilities with your family life?
Routines. I think that I'm finally nailing it down. I'm not sure. He does not go to daycare. I take care of him full time. So I have to get creative, you know? The time difference actually really helps me out because I'm in Vegas. I work Miami time. So I'm on my
About 3 hours
computer
difference for
3 hours. So exactly 3 hours. So 6 a.m. I'm on the computer, 6, 7, 8. He's on the dot at 9:30, 9 something to 9:30. He's like, morning, morning, mom. So I'm like, oh,
That's
day
your
started.
reminder to have
That's my
breakfast.
cue.
That's our lunch.
Exactly. So when the team is going to lunchtime, I'm going on my breakfast break. Usually I already have breakfast for him. Um, we have kind of like a ritual. So he sings, we sing together. After there's no more meetings, I do take 5-10 minutes to just put music, dance around, sing around. And then I would have an activity sometimes outside on the patio. Well, I can keep working. I can just watch him there. Um, I'm working on getting him activities for him. He likes to sit. He sees me on the computer all the time. So he got a computer. So he puts his computer right next to me and he pretends that he's having calls and he's working.
We do.
So I try to, teach him stuff while I also do this. And then, I finish work. Well, I would like to say that I am disciplined. I'm finishing work at 2, which is not true. Sometimes I extend myself. But then the afternoon, we go to the park and I focus on him. And then if I am not drained by 9 p.m. after cleaning, laundry, dinner, lunch, going to the park, going for a walk, work, meetings, probably more work I have to do later tonight, then I will just take some time to relax.
What strategies and tips do you have for other working mothers? We're trying to find like a work-life balance, so get creative, routines,
Go to
mindsets.
sleep early.
Go to sleep early, okay.
I know that sometimes when the kids are falling asleep and the house is finally clean and you're all good to go, you want to watch a show or you want to give some time for yourself. But sometimes then we end up sleeping late and then we're drained the next day and it's a cycle. So that's something that I've been applying myself. I've been going to sleep pretty when it's his bedtime, it's my bedtime as well. And I think that sleep is just the best thing that you can get.
Yes.
when you need to be 100% at work, and you need to be 100% with them if you have them with you right there. Two, be patient, which is something that I'm really working on. Being patient, it's, and they get your rhythm. They don't treat your child as if they don't understand. I think a lot of people make that mistake.
Yes.
They do understand. If you talk to them like a person, not like a little puppy, but like a person, they get it. He knows that breakfast is on that table and the mommy's working while he's having breakfast. And he picks up his plate. He's just turned 2. He picks up his plate, he throws the trash in the trash can, and then he puts the plate right there. He tells me, Mama, up. And then he puts the plate on the dishwasher. All on his own. Because he knows that's the routine. That's what he needs to do. When he's gonna shower, he actually brings downstairs his dirty clothes. He puts them on the washer himself, and his dirty diaper, he throws it on the trash can. But I'm teaching him that because I need him to understand that, one, he is capable of doing things on his own, and two, it teaches them to be a little bit more autonomous, like a little bit more, like they don't depend so much in you that they can't do anything. So if you don't give them attention, they go nuts.
We're still dependent.
Exactly. So I think that has really, really, really worked for me. And then just splitting your day. If you have a flexible schedule, split your day. Breakfast, have breakfast together. Lunch, have lunch together. And then go for a walk, a 5-minute walk, 10-minute walk, and then come back in and have an activity the night before. Have a busy book so they can do stuff while you're there. It's truly getting creative. Like right now, I'm into icing his toys. I put all of his cars and stuff, put in the fridge. It becomes a huge ice. And then when he comes downstairs, he has a huge ice that he needs to start knocking down so he can take out all of the toys. Right there is 2 hours. 2 hours, he's enjoying it, and I am working, and I am watching him.
He's working on his motor skills, which are very important.
Exactly. So you just do your research as well. Do your research and try it out. Again, not for every single mom works the same thing. There's some moms that are way more patient than others. It's just trial and error, just like marketing, trial and error.
And that is so true. It's a trial and error learning what works, what doesn't work.
Yeah.
I got 2 of my
Not
own.
every kid is going to get it the same way as either,
Yeah, I got 2 of my own, and I can definitely relate with those challenges. But as they become more independent, and as you're teaching them to be independent, you start realizing that you have all this extra free time. Let's look forward. What are your future goals, both personally and professionally? What do you see yourself?
Growing this thing, growing Q-Tech. That's right.
Oh, that's an easy one. Yeah.
That's what I see myself. I see myself opening more businesses, definitely. I cannot die if there's no more stuff going on. How am I going to do it? And I know that you're going to come along in some of those ideas. We have discussed a couple, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And be the best mother that I can. That's how I see it.
So you see yourself continuing to expand, continue to grow, and then from that growth, be able to branch out and pursue other business opportunities. While at the same time, continue to grow with your son, continue to expand that bond and grow together and grow your relationship.
Yeah.
What have been some of your influences or people along your journey that can help you?
Well, number one, my father. And simple. I didn't grow up with a mom, right? But I had a lot of moms. I have a ton of moms. Let me tell you that. I have a ton of moms that check on me on the monthly basis, okay? And they're all my mentors. They all teach me something new. And they all teach me stuff also when I need to. When I know that something's affecting work, um, I reach out, and it's true that I like the feedback that you said because it's true. Now I ask for help before I was afraid of that. So I would say you are a huge mentor of mine. And I told you that not so long ago. I think I had never done that. But you
I
are.
think that's the episode you said it, yes.
You are a huge mentor of mine. I've had some other mentors. I met this, well, I did competitive chess growing up, and I had a coach. So my coaches on my sports have been mentors for me. My chess coach is this really old man. He taught me about strategy, and he was also a very, very compassionate and very patient human being with me as well. They're all very patient with me, let's just be honest. Then I had my music teacher, my orchestra teacher, the one that taught me to play the cello and the violin and the flute and drums. He is, at that time, I think that he guided me a lot. With him, I learn how to release like your imagination through music, feel the music, but to let your brain actually flow stuff in. That's how he used to teach us, and um, yeah, he is a great mentor in my life in my music era. I had a great psychologist in high school, and she was one of my biggest mentors because she taught me so many little strategies to understand my emotions and to understand how to read people's emotions to the point that I became so self-aware of my emotions um, that it really changed me. That's a huge thing in my life, you know? Now I have tactics, scientifical backed tactics for me to release emotions when they're blocking me from not performing well at work. So I would consider her one of my top mentors, you know? It's I became someone else. And I know I have been able to impact other people's lives through things that I've learned from her. So yeah,
That touches into a previous point where we always want to keep moving forward, evolving ourselves. Because I feel that myself included, I used to be in this one of you is always focused on your professional career, and then everything else falls into play, and everybody take care of oneself. And I think also having the same hunger, the same need to improve yourself personally as you do professionally will give you a great return on investment for that time. Because the better you know yourself, the better you understand it, how you react to things, how external people or external events affect you, the better you can become at managing those things, and therefore translates into the better business you can be as well.
exactly.
Because that's everybody who's worked for somebody or ran their own business. When it comes to dealing with individuals, you're dealing with personalities. You're dealing with a broad spectrum of individuals who just have different viewpoints, and they think they're better than anybody else, or they might think they deserve everything and such. So it's good to have that understanding because it helps you navigate that world.
Yeah,
And with that,
truly.
I have the last question of today's episode. If you could give one piece of advice to young professionals starting in digital marketing, what would it be? And any good tradition is, as you answer this question, when you're done, just please close us out for today.
Awesome. For professionals in digital marketing, number one, start. If you are a professional in digital marketing, you haven't started yet, it's because probably you're struggling with imposter syndrome. So just start. Start posting what you want to post. Start blogging what you want to blog. Start building what you want to build. Just make that one first step. After that, be patient because you will cry and you will smile and you will laugh and you will not sleep and you will sleep a lot, but enjoy every single second of it because that's what it comes with, you know? It's a lot of stress, but it's a beautiful stress if you are actually passionate about it. And I think that that'll be all. Thank you so much for tuning in and jumping into a little bit more of a personal side. I hope that anything that I've said or mentioned, I really truly love to open up to you guys. Thank you so much for listening. We hope that we could encourage you to move forward or to pursue that dream that you haven't, or if you're struggling with something right now, just keep moving forward because it does get better, and keep having faith because that's the core of everything. So, yeah, believe in yourself. Never stop moving forward.
Thank you for
Have
your
a
time.
great one. Thank you, everyone.
See you in the next one.
Bye bye.